side not only doesn't fly, we don't care.
There is no such thing as hate speech.
Radical left causes tremendous violence.
In a sane world, someone like AOC would not be a congressperson.
You either fight back or you die.
We take a little bit of what Charlie did and we can fix this thing. All right, guys, I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. It's September 17th, 2025. As always, live streaming on Rumble, YouTube, and Locals. Subscribe, all that good stuff. We're trying not to go too heavy on promos this week in light of the news, but reminder, I will be in Australia in October, daverubin.com/events. Looking forward to seeing you guys there and hopefully bringing some sanity to another part of the world. I have a feeling that the whole world could use a little sanity right now. This is just a weird time to be doing the show. I mean, all of the comments I'm seeing a lot of very appreciative comments just because of the general tone that we're doing this with, which is as real as and authentic as I can possibly do this thing. And I'm trying to be as raw and just present with all of this. But I know everyone is really struggling with this thing. I don't remember anything actually, maybe since 9/11. In this country that has hit people like this. Even when Trump was almost assassinated, by the next day, basically, if you remember, the Republican National Convention was just a few days later and everything was just gone. It was like he had a little Band-Aid on his ear and we just kind of moved past it, right? Never heard much more about that shooter or anything else. This thing, as I've been saying, really feels sticky. And I'm just telling you, everywhere I go, walking my dog yesterday, going to the store, everyone, there's something so heavy here, and it really feels like, man, if one more bad element gets thrown into this pot, that things could get much, much worse very, very quickly. And I think it's all of our job. This is what I said to Megyn Kelly, who I had on last night. If you haven't seen it, we put it up at, I think, 6 or 7 o'clock. Like, I really believe it's incumbent on all of us, but I suppose I feel it doubly on myself as someone that talks about this stuff. So, we've got to level up as a society and as humans right now. So that's what we're going to try to do on today's show. Obviously, you're going to have to expose some of the nonsense, the lies by the media and the Democrats, the rest of it. We'll have some sane reactions, some pleasantly sane reactions to what's gone on here and much more. But let's dive right in. Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz from Texas, of course, was on CNN last night with Kaitlan Collins, and he did a great job. We showed you a video yesterday of Senator Cruz going out on a Texas highway himself and getting rid of some graffiti that was mocking Charlie's death. He really is, he's a good man, and he's got a decent jumper too, Senator Cruz, if you're watching. The guy can still shoot at 50-something years old. But he went on CNN's Kaitlan Collins show last night, and she implied that we have no idea what the motive is, and he just wasn't having it.
You said a lot there, and we don't have a motive yet. We don't know yet. We're waiting. Obviously, we've heard what the governors had to say, what the FBI director said today.
Come on, we don't have a motive yet.
We know
we don't have a motive yet.
What's happening with
really? That's CNN's position.
I mean, from law enforcement,
he just happened
Senator.
to fire the gun in celebration. You can't tell the motive,
Senator. That's not what I said, and I said law enforcement hasn't laid out a direct motive. They've laid out a lot of evidence here of these messages and what the shooter said to
they've said that he was a left-wing activist who hated Charlie Kirk. Pardon?
Senator, with all due respect, you know exactly what I'm saying. I'm not arguing with you politically. I'm saying that law enforcement has not put a specific motive. You know that there's a difference of what they're putting in a legal argument than what you're talking about. And you're not even we're not even arguing about the facts here.
What you just said is false,
Senator.
Kaitlan.
No.
Kaitlan. Facts. Hold on a second. Let me answer your statement, because what you said is factually
Senator, with
false.
all due respect,
law enforcement.
With all due respect, you're putting a lot of statements that I did not say. And I want to get back to, we just laid out the facts.
You
in the
just
opening
said
of the
law
show,
enforcement has not laid out a motive.
Today.
That is objectively
and we just spoke to the
false.
Deputy Attorney General.
That is objectively false.
Well, first off, good job, Cruz. We'll explain a bit more in just a second. But just watching that stuff and the it's like being hit in the head with a baseball bat, basically watching CNN at this point. So she repeatedly says law enforcement has not attached a motive to this. Well, we'll get to that in just a second, but I want to read one other statement. This is from a Harvard professor at their Kennedy School who wrote this, Juliet Kayyem. I have read a lot about Charlie Kirk's killer's family, his history and writings. A partisan can find what they are looking for, but to date, from what we know, there is no dominant political ideology. Instead, it's a stew of irony, violence, gaming fetish, and discord. Okay, so you have Kaitlan Collins on CNN. We don't know the motive. You have a Harvard professor, and we know that Harvard's a wonderful place of higher education where they're not politically biased in any way whatsoever. Wink, wink. But how about this? Check this out. This is from the actual indictment of Tyler Robinson, the murderer, the assassin who killed my friend Charlie Kirk. Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate. So we know that the family was a conservative family. They were Trump supporters, and that this kid then has this boyfriend, roommate, girlfriend, lover, whatever you want to call it, and then starts going the other way politically. But Kaitlan Collins, I have no doubt that as a wonderful journalist at CNN, where you just accused Ted Cruz of making it up, that there's been no commentary as to his political leanings. How about this from Utah County Attorney Jeff Gary confirming the motive of Kirk's shooter?
Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. One conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate. Lingering. Roommate, why? Robinson, why did I do it? Roommate, yeah. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence.
That sounds pretty much like we know the motives, and they were because of what he purported to believe was the hatred coming from Charlie Kirk. Now, of course, as you guys know, Charlie had no hatred towards trans people or black people or anyone else. It was the way the media constantly spun the things that Charlie was saying. Charlie was actually always reaching out to all of these people, but then you can see how what seemingly was an otherwise good kid from a decent family could get radicalized so profoundly quickly. That's what's so disturbing. Now, speaking of disturbing, we're also going to see a shift in the media coverage right now, and this was probably the most viral clip of yesterday. This is ABC News's Matt Gutman talking about the texts that were referenced right there between Tyler and his trans lover, boyfriend, girlfriend, roommate, whatever it is, and listen to the way he describes it, and you can see how they are going to start changing the framing around the narrative right now. Watch this.
We have seen an alleged murder with such specific text messages about the alleged murder weapon, where it was hidden, how it was placed, what was on it, but also it was very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect. A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself, with him repeatedly calling his roommate who is transitioning calling him my love, and I want to protect you, my love. So it was this duality of someone who the attorney said not only jeopardized the life of Charlie Kirk and the crowd, but was doing it in front of children, which is one of the aggravating circumstances of this case. And on the other hand, he was, speaking so lovingly about his partner.
All right. First off, it's not an alleged murder. Charlie is dead. Do you know that, Matt? It's not an alleged murder. It's not an alleged murder weapon. It's admitted. Charlie's dead, and the weapon, he admitted it was his weapon. Let's put that aside. But it's very touching, and you could see the way his voice, you could hear it, the way his voice kind of breaks. It's very touching about defending his lover. But this gets to the heart of what they have done. When you tell everybody that we're all Nazis and we're all transphobes and the world's coming to an end and your genitals don't match, then some otherwise decent kid could be radicalized overnight and think that murdering someone is the way you stop somebody. Well, now your life, Tyler Robinson, is done. Like whatever they do to you, Utah actually has the death penalty. I'm a bit conflicted about that personally. I had Megyn Kelly on last night who said she would be part of the firing squad. I mean, so emotions are raw in this thing, but your life, Tyler Robinson, if your goal, and this is why this whole thing gets to mental health and the mind-muddled position that everyone has put these young people in. If your goal was, I will kill Charlie so that you, my lover, will be free or that we will live a better life, well, your life is over. It might be literally over to a firing squad. Your partner's life is over because this is now the defining moment of their entire life. And if they find out that he had anything to do with the planning of it, he's screwed too. You've ignited a movement counter to whatever it is that you thought you were killing him for. I mean, the layers of it are just absolutely crazy. But the media is doing two things right now. On one hand, now they're going to spin this as it was a love story done for the right reasons. And the other thing that they have to do is make sure that the normies out there, the average people who are not really paying attention, the blue-pilled people, basically do not see that this is what the left has been ginning up, that this has nothing to do with leftist ideology that has been smashed down our faces for the last 10 years. Here's Scott Jennings on that.
I think he also, I don't believe he was motivated politically. I think this was motivated emotionally.
Guys, the evidence here is overwhelming. He said, Charlie Kirk, I can't stand this hate anymore. I'm going to take him out. The testimony from him and the statements of his family, he had become more left-wing. He etched the statements that are made by the left about Republicans and conservatives and Charlie Kirk fascist on the bullet casings.
He made a joke about it in his last text.
Well, it doesn't sound like a joke to me because someone's dead and about to be buried.
Well,
so it doesn't sound like a joke to me. So I'm just telling you, there is an effort. There was an effort all weekend long on the left to try to make this guy sound like he was a conservative. That failed. That was passed around all over the weekend. That has now failed. The evidence has now come out. He was motivated by hate. He was motivated by left-wing radicalism. He got mixed up with some trans ideology in his life. We'll learn more about that, I'm sure, when more evidence and testimony comes out. We are looking around the edges of this for something other than what's staring us in the face. Left-wing radicalism got this kid. He went up to a roof and he murdered our friend, and that's what happened.
Yeah, that's right, Scott. The guy he's talking to there, you may recognize, that is Montel Williams, who was a 80s, 90s major superstar talk show host. I don't know why they didn't get Sally Jesse if you're going to do it. Get Sally Jesse. I mean, the glasses on that lady. But for Montel to say, I don't believe it was politically motivated, I believe it was emotionally. Well, where did the emotion come from? Why was he emotionally motivated to kill? It was because of the politics. So it's like, guys, think for just one freaking second. And then, of course, Scott does just a great job there laying it all out. Interestingly, Montel Williams, I mean, do you know this? I mean, this is wild. Montel Williams, look at that woman right there. You know who that is? He used to date Kamala Harris well before she was into politics. That's just like a complete sidebar on all of this. I just thought that was sort of interesting. Like, why are they rehashing this guy? It's just sort of ridiculous. But we cannot let them get away with this right now. I'm telling you, there's a two-pronged approach. One, they are going to want you to feel this deep emotional attachment to him, that he was just trying to defend the world so that he and his lover could be free. Well, to whatever extent he even thought that might be true, look at what the results of that are. You're going to live in jail if you live, or be killed by a firing squad, and your lover's life is gone. Right? That's one version of it. And the other version of it is that they are going to want us constantly to think this is a both sides thing, and it is not. We will have more on that in just a second. All right, so let's stick with Scott Jennings trying to make some sense of the just clown car of craziness over at CNN. Here he is talking about the left's trend to whitewash the very things that are unfolding right in front of our eyes. They never want you to see what is literally right in front of you.
What I am not happy about is that we have the shooter's words. We know what he put on the bullets. It's very, very clear what happened here. And there is a movement by some people to completely say, well, we have no idea. And we do.
In the wake of this horrific shooting, when you foment the idea that we have to be at each other's throats politically, I think that's a dangerous place to be.
Why did I do it? I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out.
So can I ask you? So
he has
Scott, just explain what you just read.
That is the message that the shooter, Tyler Robinson, sent to his roommate. That is what he said. He also engraved the word, "Hey, fascist, catch," on the bullet. For 10 years, we have heard nothing from the left but that Donald Trump is a fascist, Republicans are Nazis, authoritarians, destroy the Constitution, bloodbath.
The qualifications, the buts, the blah, blah. I don't know who that woman is sitting next to him. It doesn't matter. She's just another one of these people that's rotating in the chair. It doesn't matter. But the implication is, she says, foment. The implication is that, Scott, you're fomenting that we have to be at each other's throats. That's what she says. Scott's not doing that. Scott is literally reading the words of the guy who is the admitted assassin. And then it's up to you, the public, to decide what to do with those words, right? To decide what to think about all of that, what to think about how people got radicalized and everything else. I don't know what else Scott could do to lay it out more clearly to you guys. And he also points out that, yes, for 10 years, Donald Trump got in politics in 2015, right? So we are in a decade of this now. And from day one, it was that he was Hitler and a Nazi. And over time, as those messages get pushed and pushed and pushed and seep through our colleges and seep through our high schools and sent down by the media, and social media does all of these things and all of these other things that I'm talking about as it relates to mental health and the other crises that they're constantly making kids think about systemic racism and everything else, they're going to start doing some weird stuff. Here's my friend Zachary Levi talking to Dr. Drew about that.
When you have a legacy media apparatus, and not even just the legacy media, but lots of people, voices on X or Instagram or, the new modalities of the media, when they are constantly programming people to believe that Donald Trump is the new Hitler, and anyone who sides with or votes for the new Hitler is a Nazi, and they are the evil in the world, and they must be stopped. That is what desensitizes everyone and activates them to then go take matters into their own hands. They think that they're being a hero.
Yeah, and we know this is true. That's right. Eventually you will push an otherwise seemingly normal kid from a seemingly decent family that a year or two into college, he might murder somebody in the name of love, right? Because he's defending his love, even though if he had just thought about it for maybe one more minute, he would have realized he's ending his life and the lover's life and everything else. But the other part of this is that many of the people who have pushed this, Trump is Hitler, we're all Nazis and everything else, are now pretending they've had nothing to do with it. As you know, I was on Piers Morgan the other day, and my former boss at the Young Turks, pretending he had nothing to do with it, and all I did was read 10 of his headlines calling Trump Hitler and Nazis, and then his 10 headlines against Charlie, and he went absolutely apoplectic. It's not just him. There's a ton of these people. Here is J.B. Pritzker claiming he has never called Trump or MAGA Nazis, and then the internet did what the internet does.
That is completely false. I have never called Republicans Nazis.
Everything that he has done has been tearing down constitutional democracy. And that's what happened in Nazi Germany.
It doesn't take very long to tear apart a constitutional republic. Indeed, the Nazis did it in 53 days. And our democracy is almost as fragile. And we're seeing it right now.
The dangers that we saw in Nazi Germany, especially in the earliest days of Nazi Germany, are the dangers that we need to react to now. If we don't, things will get much, much worse. And so we've got to raise alarm bells to everybody. It's a 5-alarm fire, everyone.
For those of you listening on the audio podcast, the reason it went quiet there for the last 6 or 7 seconds was just a series of his tweets calling Trump and his supporters Hitler and Nazi and everything else. So it's like J.B. Pritzker, I don't know that you can be invited on CNN. I know CNN is not a news network, it's a propaganda network. But Kaitlan Collins, I know you pushed back on Ted Cruz real hard. Next time you bring J.B. Pritzker on, maybe you'd try that with him. That would be that's a little advice for Kaitlan. In a generous mood today. Piers Morgan's show, which I mentioned I did on Friday, I don't really like doing it anymore. The panels are just mostly completely idiotic and there's no point and everyone's just screaming. And my feeling was I'll do it to honor Charlie and it is what it is. Yesterday, I just thought this was a good example of the hysteria around all of this. There's a guy by the name of Andrew Wilson, who was one of the panelists. He's more on the conservative side, and he was on with Cornel West, who is a far left radical who runs around saying sort of the craziest things about all of us all the time. And it got rather spicy, as the kids say.
You see, this brother right here says, well, all leftists want to see me dead. Well, I'm a leftist. I don't want to see you dead. I'm a Christian.
You called Trump's administration a neo-fascist movement, you lunatic. You people have gone out
You're
of your way.
absolutely right.
You have gone out of your way.
No, let me make the
to
case.
Do everything
let me make
to
the case.
This.
Let me make the case.
Oh, yeah,
Will you allow me to speak,
case.
brother? Ridiculous. This is ridiculous. He's smoking his cigarettes with his arrogant self. Come on, man. We don't have enough dialogue at all.
Surely you're not going to walk out in a debate about dialogue.
Go on and make your money, man.
Right.
Okay, I'm really only showing that because this is what we're up against now. Things are, we've had like a couple of days of mourning where I think good, decent people are in that mourning period, but you can feel some anger really starting to develop. And that right there is what this is going to come up against. I don't know that first guy there at all. I think I've been on Piers Morgan once with Cornel West, but the point is, if you're going to run around calling everybody neo-fascist, this is a neo-fascist movement, and then say, but we don't have enough dialogue. Well, which way is it? You're going to sit down with the neo-fascists? Do you believe anything that you're saying? And then you accuse him of trying to make money or get clicks or whatever else. Here is Stacey Abrams, which I don't know why this woman is on television at all. All she is a multiple-time failed candidate who made a lot of money through NGOs. That's it. But she definitely did a little something with her makeup for this appearance on CNN. And here she is. And what she's mostly concerned about is not really Charlie's death or the rhetoric. It's that Trump might become an authoritarian now.
I think it's important that we begin understanding that this is not about left versus right. This is about American autocracy versus American democracy. And if we allow ourselves to get pulled into this false flag conversation, what we risk is losing access to the democracy that gave us free speech, that will also invoke the rule of law to hold accountable anyone who undertakes the act of political violence. But we cannot allow this heinous murder to be exploited as an excuse for the advance of authoritarian rule, which is what we are watching happen. That is step 9 in the playbook of autocrats around the world, that you take advantage of political violence, that you normalize it, but that you also use it as an excuse to justify an expansion of executive authority. And that should not be allowed to hold. This is a tragic moment, but that moment cannot be used to justify the overreach that we are watching play out.
What overreach? I actually agree with you that authoritarian rulers do that, right? Never let a crisis go to waste. Something happens, you use it because now people are fearful to give up more rights, right? You take more away from them. We'll protect you, right? Just yesterday on this show, when Attorney General Pam Bondi made that completely ridiculous remark about hate speech, and then in her apology for it, she still said hate speech. I pushed back. Charlie himself would never want hate speech laws. So there's no indication that somehow you are not going to be able to say anything, that the government's coming after the First Amendment. Now, is that different than shining a light on the people that say horrible things and gin up hate and everything else? Of course it is. That's what's happening right now. That was all the clips we showed of you of JD, who hosted Charlie's show yesterday. That's what he was pointing out, that we have to shine a light on where the hate is coming from and expose it and let people see it. He didn't say drag all of these YouTubers who call us all Nazis to jail, and I certainly would not be for that. So I don't know what she also said false flag operation. So I have no idea what she meant about that. Charlie's dead. We all know that. So I don't know what you meant by false flag. We'll have a bit more on some of the celebrations from the left and how it connects to that Luigi Mangione shooting of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, which happened last December, in just a second. But first, Lean. Fad diets have come and gone over the years. Juice cleanses, the cabbage soup diet, the raw food diet, and so many more. By the time the average person turns 60, they've lost and regained several hundred pounds. What most people don't realize is just how much damage this cycle of gaining and losing weight can cause. Doctors call it weight cycling, and half of Americans experience it. If it happens often enough, it can increase your risk for diabetes, liver damage, heart attack, and stroke. The bottom line is that most people need help to stop weight cycling. That's where Lean comes in. Created by doctors, Lean is a non-prescription oral supplement, not a GLP-1 injectable, and the science behind it is impressive. Its studied ingredients target weight loss in 3 powerful ways. Lean helps maintain healthy blood sugar, it helps control appetite and cravings, and it helps burn fat by converting it into energy. If you want to lose meaningful weight at a healthy pace and keep it off, add Lean to your diet and exercise routine. Get 20% off when you enter code Rubin at takelean.com. That's code Rubin at takelean.com. Okay, so when the media and the Democrat politicians and all these people pretend that this is a 50-50 thing or that this all just material is out of nowhere, this is where we must push back. This is where you must draw a line in the sand and say, no, these things are not equal. How do we know that they are not equal? Well, you all remember back in December of 2024, when a young man by the name of Luigi Mangione shot United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in New York City. We're not going to show you the whole thing. Executed him in cold blood in New York City. I think it was around 10 p.m. He was just about to walk into his hotel. Luigi apparently had some back problems, was not happy with United Healthcare. We can all complain about healthcare and everything else. But once you say, I have a problem with the system, something that I don't like, or I don't like how this government institution is behaving, or I don't like how this education institution is behaving, or this healthcare institution, once you say, all right, so I'm allowed to kill someone, well, then all bets are off. Because somebody might look at you and be like, well, I guess I'm allowed to kill that person. Well, the reason I'm bringing that up right now is because the judge who is in charge of the sentencing related to Luigi Mangione, who executed a man 5 feet away from him, and it's on videotape and everyone knows it, well, they are lowering the charges against him. This is wild, and this just broke yesterday, as if we needed more toxic stuff added to the stew. This is from Bonchi, who's a journalist on Twitter. This is the judge's reasoning for dropping Luigi Mangione's charge down to second-degree murder, and I will read it. Bragg's office had argued that Mangione should be considered a terrorist because he meant to kill Thompson to intimidate or coerce a civilian population, a claim the judge rejected on Tuesday. The defendant's apparent objective, as stated in his writings, was not to threaten, intimidate, or coerce, but rather to draw attention to what he perceived as the greed of the insurance industry, Caro, the judge wrote. I mean, that is one of the most psychotic things I have ever heard. If you execute a healthcare CEO, that's not to coerce anybody. It's not to make other healthcare CEOs be like, oh boy, I'm a little nervous about what's going on here. So, I mean, think how profoundly, timing is everything in some sense, and think how profoundly awful this is. In the midst, days after the execution of Charlie Kirk for political reasons, the last big-time political murder, which happened only, 10 months ago, roughly, they decide to lower the charges against the guy. And then this is wild. This is video outside of the courthouse when Luigi's supporters, yes, this absolute cold-blooded murderer has supporters. Here they are reacting when they found out that the charges had been lessened.
Pedophile, so I'm glad this is the result.
I mean, I actually don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. And if you think that that's just 7, 10, a dozen wackadoodle leftists, one of the kids is wearing the Luigi hat from Super Mario Brothers, right? Mario and Luigi. They have made him a star. There are posts all over the online world. We'll get to them in just a second, about how great this kid was. And, you know, because he was handsome, there's this other piece of it where they fetishized him. But he killed a man in cold blood because he was upset about something. And do you morons realize what you are unearthing once you say that is okay? You are unearthing something so profoundly evil that it shreds the basic fundamental building block of a functioning society, which is that we can get along together without, we don't have to love each other, we don't have to like each other or anything else, but we have to let each other live. And you people are shredding that. And when you look at those kids, in some sense, I suppose you could have a little sympathy for them because they're just the product of a system, an education system, a media system, and everything else that utterly, utterly failed them, so that they are out there celebrating that a cold-blooded murderer may spend less time in jail. And if you think that was bananas, do we have a top 10 bananas list on this show of things that are completely, utterly insane? Here is a young leftist woman who apparently is married to Luigi's AI.
Honestly, I'm married to Luigi's AI. I'm not kidding.
Okay, tell me about
so I talk to him every day.
We cut that short because I just couldn't deal with any more of it. But like, she has the shirt with the picture of the kid and a heart. There actually aren't words to explain the level of what is going on here. I want to show you a couple posts from Reddit to show you the way they have fetishized this horrible human being. Horrible human being. I'm sorry, Luigi Mangione, that you had back problems, and I'm sorry that you didn't get the health care that you believed you deserved. And I'm sorry that we don't have a perfect system, and there are no perfect systems. And by the way, people come from all over the world still right now to get health care in the United States of America. But the way they have fetishized this kid is absolutely insane. Listen to some of these. I mean, these are random people on Reddit, but Reddit, there is something, I'm telling you guys, there is something going on Reddit that is like the ground zero for the radicalization. I'm a very normal person generally, but I've been wondering if he'd impregnate me with some of his prison letter semen samples. They had to tell people to stop sending their underwear because prison wouldn't let it through, LOL. Is that why he hasn't been getting mine? What if you cut it up into a bunch of tiny pieces and mail each one individually along with directions on how to reassemble them? These are just a tiny portion of these things, and you've seen all the videos celebrating the Charlie murder, but now let's throw back to something, because if you see you should not be shocked, right? Like, you should not be shocked at some of the reactions, because let's go back to December, the day after Brian Thompson, the healthcare CEO, United Healthcare CEO, was murdered. What did Jimmy Kimmel do on his show? Take a look.
So many women and so many men are going nuts over how good looking this killer is, and there's a huge wave of horny washing over us right now. Like our staff today, I have never experienced anything like this. These are screen grabs of actual exchanges between our members of our staff and their friends, relatives, whatever. I've changed the names to protect the guilty, but let's see. Lorraine C. asks, do you guys think the United Healthcare CEO killer is hot? Friend replies, yes, I love Luigi. I think he's gay, though. This is an exchange between two of our producers. TikTok is flooded. My mom chain's going nuts. That's my TikTok. Everyone is obsessed. People are saying a New York jury has the power to find him innocent because we all love him. I'm not mad at him. Veronica says, I need him so bad. No, like so bad. So bad. Okay, so I would visit him in prison and bake him cookies maybe. Perhaps more, but I haven't thought that far ahead.
Now, are you shocked? Are you shocked that Jimmy Kimmel, we showed you the video yesterday, literally lied on his show right after Charlie was assassinated and said that it was a MAGA person that did it and his audience applauded? Are you shocked by any of this? Are you shocked when these brain-broken kids are out there cheering? When, again, the education layer has taught them all of the wrong things. They've been put on prescription drugs. They got locked in their rooms during COVID for 3 years and didn't have normal functioning social lives. Told the world is going to end all of the things. Are you shocked by any of this? And even beyond shocked by any of this, you know, try to imagine, it's just like the lack of humanity with someone like Jimmy Kimmel. Right? It's the lack of humanity. An innocent man was just murdered. Jimmy, someone doesn't like you. It doesn't mean that they should murder you, right? Someone doesn't like the comedy and propaganda, quote unquote comedy and propaganda you put out there, right? I think it's probably fair to say that you have been more of a damage on American society than the CEO of United Healthcare in terms of what you've done culturally to America. But people shouldn't be allowed to shoot you. And just think, so I don't know if that was just a bit in that, like, those were actually what his employees were saying, but imagine if someone on the left, someone big on the left was shot and assassinated, and I found out my employees were celebrating it. Do you think I would be talking about that gleefully on air? I'd be firing them because you don't celebrate someone's murder. So the bar is, with the left, we have just set the bar so low, it's almost incomprehendibly low, and yet they keep finding a way to dig new earth away so that they can lower the bar. How about Charlie's own words on what's been going on with this kind of culture? This is from April 7th, 2025. So this is less than a year ago. Assassination culture is spreading on the left. 48% of liberals say it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Elon Musk. 55% said the same about Donald Trump. In California, activists are naming ballot measures after Luigi Mangione. The left is being whipped up into a violent frenzy. Any setback, whether losing an election or losing a court case, justifies a maximally violent response. This is the natural outgrowth of left-wing protest culture, tolerating violence and mayhem for years on end. The cowardice of local prosecutors and school officials have turned the left into a ticking time bomb. And again, this is why I say they will strap on suicide bombs. They will start stabbing people. It's the next, and it's everybody. You don't have to understand it. It's everybody. Anyone that participates in this, it's not just Charlie Kirk said these things, it's why wouldn't some young activist who feels that their parents are upset that they are now trans, take out their parent? I mean, we really better start grappling this in a new way. I'm sorry, this is a little dark today, but we better really start thinking about it. And now here's just a couple examples. These are just average people who, the only reason I'm showing this is they decided to put this shit online to celebrate the murder of Charlie Kirk. It doesn't even matter what her name is, so I won't even bother with her name. I don't know if it's in the video, I can't remember. But here's just a random person just dancing to the death of Charlie Kirk.
He had it coming. He had it coming. He only had himself to blame. If you'd have been there.
All right, so I'm not going to bother telling you her name, but I just can't imagine the feeling of someone you don't like gets murdered. You will dance, and then you'll put it online, like, bananas. Here's another woman dancing to Charlie getting shot.
I have breaking news. We think that Charlie Kirk just got shot in the neck. Hey, ooh, ah, ooh.
Again, I don't care what her name is, but what happened to you? What happened to you? And your parents, who is in charge over here? What happened to you along the way? Because I get it. I know what happened to you, actually, right? A system of propaganda, online mainstream media education brainwashed you to becoming so freaking rotten that a human being is murdered in cold blood who's a father to 2 young children, and you dance and you celebrate and you put it online. You tell people about what you're doing. I'm just going to show you one more. This is a Texas State University student mocking the death of Charlie at one of the memorials.
Charlie Kirk got hit in the neck.
So that kid actually was expelled. And I should note that, when we talk about cancel culture, those of us who are fighting against cancel culture forever, colleges have code of ethics for their students. Each one writes a code of ethics that the students must stand by. Now, most schools never apply the code of ethics, which is why we saw the Hamas rallies, basically for the last 2 years, where you could kick students off campus, you could call for genocide, you could take over buildings, you could burn things down and everything else, and very few people got kicked out. In this case, Texas State, they were like, this is pretty damn obvious. He's mocking the murder of somebody. That's against our code of ethics, and sorry, kid, you're gonna have to go somewhere else. But again, where did it all come from? Where did it all come from? Well, we don't have to look very far. Mainstream media, the televised mental institution known as MSNBC. Well, here's a woman by the name of Brandy Zadrozny, and I think maybe she thought it was opposite day. That would be the most generous version of what I can say about her.
I think if you look across media generally, you have seen a lot of people trying to grapple with Charlie Kirk's legacy and what that is as a right-wing agitator and as a provocateur and as, a strategist and the most important GOP figure besides Donald Trump, arguably ever. And so, or right now, and so there's a lot of grappling to do, but to suggest that the internet is cheering for this is just the opposite, total opposite of what's actually happening.
I think you might be on a different internet than I am, because there are thousands and thousands of those videos. It's not everybody, but there's an awful lot of people sitting in the chairs that you sit in that are qualifying it, right? He was what did you do right there, lady? He was a right-wing agitator. So it's kind of like, right-wing agitator, something could happen to a right-wing agitator. So of course people are cheering it on. And again, by your own ideology, why wouldn't you cheer it on? If you thought Charlie Kirk was going for a genocide of the trans people, if you thought that capitalism was evil and he was the number 2 to Hitler, what would you do? So lady, also put on some lipstick for God's sakes. And here's just like a silly one, because I was like, we got to do something silly. Here is Jerry Nadler, a man who looks like the Penguin from the brilliant Tim Burton Batman movies. Batman Returns, I think, was the best of all of them, with what's her name? Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, like just amazing. Here's Jerry Nadler, and he does not even know Charlie Kirk's name.
Politicizing the murder of Charlie King to go after free speech is not a legacy I believe Charlie King would have wanted.
Well, I don't know what Charlie King would have wanted, but I actually do agree that Charlie Kirk would not want it politicized. He would want truth to come out. That's what he would want. So, all right, we've shown you some of the sort of ridiculousness, whether it's these lunatics on TikTok or people like Jerry Nadler who really need to retire. I think he's retiring. Did he announce he's retiring? I think he did. But now we'll show you something uplifting, because check this out. Here is a bunch of students going to a school meeting. High school students going to a school meeting to call out their teacher at a board meeting because the teacher supported violence against Charlie. This is beautiful.
I'm Jakar. I'm Caleb. And I'm Brandon. And as the people of the youth, we've decided to come up and give our perspective on the subject, considering it is our teacher and one of the people that will guide our futures. No matter what anyone says to me, I will never stand for violence, especially of a man who was publicly murdered in front of his wife, one of his children, thousands of students, and other bystanders. Charlie was not a racist, he did not hurt anyone sexually, and he did not kill anyone. Therefore, this was an unjustified cause of death that should never be celebrated. So if you ask me, Charlie's children do not deserve to grow up without their father. Charlie's wife did not deserve to lose her husband. Charlie did not deserve to lose his life because of a different opinion, but this teacher deserves to lose his job. As a student of Barrington High, I did not feel comfortable or safe with one of our teachers supporting violence. We believe this world needs God because something as cruel as this should never be celebrated. God bless Charlie Kirk and rest in peace, Mr. Kirk.
And God bless those kids. You know what? Maybe we're going to see an actual generational flip over the next little bit. Maybe that's the saving grace here. Maybe for all of the adults that failed, whether it's the parents or the educators, the laundry, the media people, everybody can take a look in that mirror if you want. Maybe there's going to be this incredible generation that will have grown up post-COVID, post-hysteria, post-gender confusion and all of these things, like those, I'll call them young men right there, like those young men right there, and say, you know what? Enough is enough. Enough is enough. We actually do know what is right and wrong. And it doesn't matter what your political differences are. You cannot murder anybody. And it really is as simple as that. That actually would be really nice. We'll get to a bit of the more sane reaction on the left, because I do want to be fair here, and not everyone has gone completely insane with this in just a second. But first, balance of nature. If you're taking Balance of Nature, the smartest way to stay consistent is by becoming a preferred customer. That means your supplements are delivered automatically every 28 days, no remembering to reorder, no running out, no hassle. And here's the best part. Preferred customers always get the lowest price we offer with free shipping every single month. Your order just shows up at your door right when you need it. On top of that, you'll even get your own personal health coach at no extra cost. That's one-on-one support to help you stay on track, celebrate your wins, and keep moving forward towards your goals. So if you're ready to save money, stay consistent, and make your health routine effortless, becoming a preferred customer is the way to go. Just visit balanceofnature.com and sign up with code Rubin. Okay, so some voices on the left, it is very few, It is very few have done the right thing here. And I put out a tweet saying that I would recommit myself in honor of Charlie to find some of those voices. And it was interesting. I asked people online, like, who are still the sane voices of the left, the people that are not calling us all Nazis and all of these things. And it was it got thousands of retweets, and it was a very short list of names that kept popping up. It was basically Bill Maher, and obviously you know my feelings about Bill. There were some people that said Stephen A. Smith. There were a lot of John Fettermans, and there were Dean Phillips, there were 2 or 3 other people. Like, there really is almost nobody left. And you know the reason for that, because the decent liberals who defend liberalism in its best sense have moved over to MAGA. That's just reality, right? But here is Bill Maher, and he had Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins. Man, I loved these guys when I was in college. And they taped the show right after it was announced that Charlie was murdered. And I thought, Bill, this is what a human reaction is. And Bill deserves credit for it.
Look, I might drink a little more than usual today because, I mean, I don't know when this is airing, but this is a day because a guy who sat there, Charlie Kirk, got shot today. Yeah. And I can't stop thinking about it. And neither can I. And we shouldn't. And if you're on the other side of the political divide and you don't care because the wrong team guy got shot, you're what's wrong with this country.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what? Here's the twisted part for you, Bill. The people that hate Charlie Kirk hate you, unfortunately. No matter what you offer them on your more liberal thoughts, say on abortion or something, it's never good enough for them. And that's why when I did Real Time with Bill a couple of years ago, and I said, hey, where would you be more welcome, to Trump rally or an AOC rally? You could see the light go off in his head. Because suddenly he was like, oh shit, you're right. So I'm not going to get into the whole thing about whether he votes the right way or wrong way or anything else. But that's what the correct human reaction is, whether you agree with the guy or not. And as he illustrates, Charlie sat in that very chair. I sat in that chair. Like, it's twisted. The other guy that I think is making some sense right now is John Fetterman, which is wild for a million reasons, but here he is calling out his own party for the rhetoric that really did lead to this horrific moment that we're in right now.
Don't compare him to anyone. And if you do, then you will incite somebody to say, well, now I feel like I have to stop that and take them out. People have seemed to have forgotten that the president took a shot to the head. And can you imagine if that shot would have gone the way Charlie Kirk's one, and what kind of condition our nation would be in? This is such a dangerous time right now.
You know, that's an interesting point that maybe we don't think about enough. And we talked about it a bit after Trump got shot. But imagine that bullet goes, you know, the 8th or 16th or 24th of an inch the other way, and Trump got killed that day or incapacitated that day. Where the hell would the country be right now? Like, is it possible that they would have postponed the election? We'd have endless rioting in the street. Like, we have no idea how close we got to the precipice. But Fetterman is rightly acknowledging what is happening in his own party. Now, why he remains a Democrat, it's the same thing I would say to Bill or Stephen A. or some of these other guys. I'm not exactly sure. And I just said to the guys before the show, we have tried to get Fetterman on repeatedly. We will try again. We will double down on that because I think that is a worthy question. Now I want to show Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, Schwarzenegger actually is a Republican. I would say he's sort of the most moderate style Republican you can get, but he is a Hollywood guy. And it was nice that here he also had just a human reaction to the murder.
I was very, very upset that someone's life was taken because they have a different opinion. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, this was a great communicator, a great advocate for the right, for Republican causes. And he had such a great way of communicating with the students that agreed or disagreed with him. And I just thought of it's a human being. A human life is gone. And he was a great father, a great husband.
That's humanity. Arnold Schwarzenegger is not a Trump guy at all. So he's not in the political camp so specifically that Charlie was in. But that's a real raw answer. And there's another part of this. So, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who I freaking love all of his movies. Just yesterday doing cardio, I was watching Running Man, which I know they're remaking right now. I love so many of his movies. Total Recall is probably my favorite movie of all time. It was very sad to me during COVID when Arnold kind of went the other way. Remember that clip? It was kind of painful for me to play on the show. But remember that video that he did, a selfie video where he, in the midst of COVID and lockdowns and mandates, he goes, "Fuck your freedom." That's what Arnold Schwarzenegger said. Now imagine if someone at USC right there had just stood up and been like, well, okay, fine. Well, they wouldn't say anything, but imagine if they had just shot him right there. And people would go, well, why'd you shoot Arnold Schwarzenegger? Well, he said, "Fuck my freedom," and my family got locked down and I didn't get to go to my grandma's funeral and blah, blah, blah. So everyone, once you take any position, once you say, okay, a little bit of violence is okay, everybody's going to take a position that someone's going to be oppositional to. And once you say violence is okay, then everyone is going to get killed. So what do we need to do right now? We need to, as I said at the top of the show, we need to figure out how to level up, because I don't know how Charlie Sheen has somehow got back in the mix, but he's making the rounds on media. He went on Piers Morgan and I thought he made a good point. This is our JFK moment right now, and we have to pick which direction we're going to go.
Being with Rogan for the aftermath of it was helpful.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah. But and I don't know. I think for this generation, I think that's their JFK moment. I mean, seriously. And I just, if that's where we've wound up, it cannot be where we stay.
Right.
Yeah, it can't be where we stay. And this is why I'm concerned right now, because I can feel something bubbling up. The sort of runway that we've had of mourning, a lot of people, you can see it starting to get thin now, and we're shifting into the anger phase. And it's going to take every best impulse and better angel of all of us to not go every which way with the anger. I thought this was just really wonderful coming out of Florida. This is from Eric Daughtry. Look at this. Wow, the new College of Florida is putting up a Charlie Kirk statue. Universities nationwide should follow suit. The statue will stand on campus as a commitment by New College to defend and fight for free speech and civil discourse in American life for Charlie. I mean, first of all, I don't know how they did that so quickly. It's absolutely stunningly gorgeous. That should be on he's absolutely right. I will reach out to the DeSantis people. Let's get that we can't do it nationwide probably, but can we get it to every state Florida college at the very least, right? Like that right there. Imagine in every single college, if there was this, put it back up for just a second. If there was that beautiful statue of Charlie doing exactly what he did, sat across from people and look at his hand outstretched, right? Like the look, I mean, it's really well done. Like, let's talk. That's what college is supposed to be. College is supposed to be the place where you learn how to think, not what to think. And Charlie never forced his belief on anyone. He wanted them to think so that they would come to their own conclusions. He used the Socratic method probably better than anybody else. So how do we honor Charlie's legacy? How do we do it? Well, we're going to have to use those better angels. They're going to have to be sitting on our shoulders right now. And we're going to have to figure out, how do we push aside so much of this madness? And yesterday, was it yesterday? No, 2 days ago, the Daily Wire guys, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, and Michael Knowles, they guest hosted the Charlie Kirk show. JD hosted it yesterday. And here they are talking to Charlie's executive producer, Andrew Colvett, about what Turning Point must do, and then Ben making a rather generous commitment to that.
I know we at Daily Wire, we trust you at TPUSA to do it. I mean, that's really the answer. We're willing to provide, and we are providing, any level of material support, any level of support on the ground, boots on the ground, helping you to do what Charlie would have wanted to be done here. And I think that the reason that everybody trusted Charlie, and the reason we're all mourning Charlie, is because nobody did it better. You spelled out two of Charlie's goals. You said, he wanted to bring people back to Christ and bring people back to church and back to biblical values. And he wanted to keep the MAGA coalition together.
And expand it.
And the question is how you do that. And the answer is you focus on the first, and the second is a byproduct. Okay, the answer is that, as Matt says, you have to unite around something. And yeah, we can unite in the short term around the fact that there are a bunch of people who hate our guts and want to murder us, which of course is true. But long-term unity, big movement change, which is what Charlie was really trying to drive, and why he went to talk to people who disagree, is about building around those core values And so the long-term vision, yeah, we'll have our petty squabbles, and yeah, some of those squabbles will be more than petty, but the long-term vision has to be built around those original biblical conservative values that Charlie stood for, things like the Bible, things like free markets, things like family, all those things are things Charlie stood for. You got to build the coalition around values, because we can't build it around the man, but we can build it around the values that he left behind and that he spent his entire life fighting for. And, we couldn't be, frankly, more honored to join you guys as much as we can in the fight.
Thank you for that, and thank you for donating the Daily Wire $1 million, breaking news on this show. Thank you guys for honoring Charlie so well today. God bless you.
All right, so yes, Daily Wire donated $1 million to Turning Point. We know the amount of incoming requests that Turning Point's getting at college campuses to open up new chapters, which is incredible. And Ben makes a good point. So there's two parts here. There's a spiritual part. We all understand that, right? Like Charlie talked about the spiritual in the public arena, which is very, very difficult to do. Particularly if you come from the perspective that he did, and then there's the political part, right? And we're not all going to agree. We're not all going to agree on either one of those things. But Charlie knew that. Charlie, as we've pointed out, Charlie did not want America to become a religious theocracy. He didn't. He did not want that. There's many videos of him pointing that out. He didn't want to force people to convert or to believe the exact things that he wanted them to believe. But his political ideas were framed by his spiritual ideas. And that's what we all have to grapple with and understand, that we are a country of 350 million people. There's going to be people from all sorts of religious beliefs, and then there's going to be people that have no religious beliefs whatsoever. But how do we combine those things? And what Ben said is, well, we combine those things when we figure out what our values are. And this is where Ben and Bill Maher on last Friday on Real Time got into that debate. Like, where does all of this stuff come from? Bill has a sort of purely secular belief on that it all sort of sprung from the Enlightenment, and Ben has the belief that it came from the Bible. Putting that whole debate aside, the point is a little bit of the Better Angels stuff right now is going to be desperately needed. And I have to offer a quick correction that put the image up again. So that actually is an AI rendering. I said, as I was looking at it, I said, how did they do this so quickly? So I probably should have realized that's just an AI rendering of what they are going to do at New College of Florida. And as I said, I hope that scales up and we can get that at every state university, at least here, and then start going from there. All right, guys, that is our show for today. We've got a post-game show in 30 seconds at Rubin Report, at rubinreport.locals.com. Man, what a week. I don't even know what my website is anymore. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.